Imagine this, you teach a math lesson today, and after a week, when you ask a question to your students, they stare blankly at you. Frustrating, right? What if you could make lessons so memorable that they stick in your child's mind, whether you teach in a government school or a private school, whether you have a lot of resources or no resources at all? That's exactly what this video is about. By the end, you'll know simple, powerful ways based on cognitive development and child psychology that will transform how your students learn and remember lessons. We'll cover 4 proven strategies, and in the last chapter, I'll share one surprisingly low-cost way that will transform how you teach. Namaste. My name is Nikhil, and this is the Staff Room, a dedicated space for teachers where we discuss diverse topics related to the teaching profession. This video is brought to you in partnership with the GRD Trust, based in Coimbatore. They run multiple educational institutes such as schools, colleges, and teacher training institutes with the motto Savidya Ye Vimukta Hai. Knowledge is that which liberates. Before continuing, make sure that you have clicked the subscribe button for more such teacher relevant content. In the first chapter, let's understand why child development matters in your classroom. Think about the students in front of you. A 6-year-old student and a 14-year-old student understand things very differently, right? Research shows that young children aged between 3 to 6 learn best through play and concrete experiences. Between 6 to 11, they start moving towards abstract ideas, but still need real-life examples. By middle school, critical thinking begins, and in secondary years, abstract reasoning fully develops. So, if you're teaching fractions to a 9-year-old, just writing those numbers on the board will not work. But telling a story about dividing rotis within the family, that clicks. Remember, teaching is not a one-size-fits-all. It's a stage-by-stage process. So what can we take away from all of this? First, match your teaching method to the student's age group. Second, use real-life examples for younger students. Third, bring discussions and debates into your classroom for older students. Fourth point, observe how students respond and adjust your methods. Let's come to the second chapter, and this is the secret here. Your brain loves stories. Why? Because stories activate the brain's language, emotions, and visualization centers all at once. And that's why students remember things like Panchatantra stories or Harry Potter long after they've forgotten what you taught from the textbook. Even CBSE has officially now added storytelling as a teaching tool. Think about any rural teacher, maybe in Maharashtra, teaching their students fractions using the division of rotis method. That teacher's students didn't just learn fractions now, they actually lived it. Now imagine applying this to science, to mathematics, to biology, even English grammar. So here's what you can do to make that actually happen. First, start every lesson with a story or an analogy. Second, connect those stories to local and cultural contexts. Third, turn abstract ideas into concrete narratives. And fourth, let your students create their own and tell their own stories. Which lesson do you think your students will remember longer? Listening to a lecture or singing a rhyme about it with a lot of actions? Research shows when students use multiple senses, seeing, hearing, touching, moving, their performance improves by almost 20%. This means that you can make your lessons stick by introducing small activities within them. This could be role plays, mind maps, using even simple flashcards, or singing some rhymes. No expensive resources or tools needed, just your creativity. Every 15 minutes or so, get your students in the classroom to either move, draw, sing, and so on. Their brains will definitely thank you. So what are the actionables for you from this chapter? Number 1, use diagrams, mind maps, or drawings for visuals. Second, add rhymes, songs, or chants for auditory learning. Third, include role plays, movement, or some manipulatives. And fourth and finally, break your lessons into interactive chunks. So far, you've seen 2 major tools, teaching by stage of development and storytelling plus multisensory learning. Together, they make concepts concrete, engaging, and memorable. But we are just halfway. Stay with me, because next we'll see how you can train the students' memory itself, techniques that even top coaching institutes use. That brings us to the 4th chapter. Have you noticed how students forget a lesson after a few days? That's just because brain naturally discards unused information. Think about that random newspaper article or the Instagram reel that you might have watched last week. You wouldn't remember. But with two methods, spaced retention and active recall, you can fight forgetting. Spaced retention means revisiting a topic the next day, after 1 week, and after 2 weeks. Each review or each revisit tells the brain that this information is important, store it permanently. Active recall goes a step further. Instead of rereading notes and revising the topic, you can ask students to explain the concept in their own words or quiz each other. This struggle strengthens memory. And here's the golden touch that you can add. Connect lessons to emotions. Use humor, some personal stories, or even linking it to dreams. The brain always remembers how it felt. So quickly summarizing, review your lessons the next day, after 1 week, and after 2 weeks. Use quick recall games and peer teaching instead of just rereading things. Third, add humor, personal stories, and student goals to your lessons. And finally, end each lesson with the students summarizing the learning in their own words. Let's come to chapter 5, where we'll talk about the most powerful and maybe surprising to some of you insight. You don't need expensive resources and tools to achieve any of this. In fact, some of the best classrooms in India use bottle caps to teach maths, leaves and stones to teach science, and handmade flashcards to teach language. Take the Sampark Foundation's Teach Easy kits, for example. It has some simple board games and audio devices that made maths and English language easily understandable and engaging in rural schools without any heavy costs. The truth is this: your creativity as a teacher and your consistency will matter more than some fancy smartboard. Instead of struggling with limited budget, you can turn your environment, newspaper, cardboards, and even community help into powerful teaching tools. And that is transformation. So, use locally available things like cap bottles, leaves, stones, pencils, and so on. Create simple games and puzzles for your students' practice. Involve the community to source different materials. And finally, focus on consistent strategies as opposed to expensive ones. Let's quickly bring it all together now in the conclusion. First, match your teaching to the child's stage of development. Second, use storytelling to connect lessons with emotions. Third, make learning multisensory and active. Fourth, train memory with spaced retention and recall. And finally, fifth, remember, low-cost creative tools can achieve high impact. So here's the core message. You don't need more or expensive tools and resources. You need better and consistent strategies. When you understand how children learn and use these simple brain-friendly techniques and strategies, you become that teacher who can make learning stick for life. If you want a simple checklist to help you, here it is. Begin each lesson with a relatable story. Add at least 2 sensory methods every 15 minutes. Plan spaced reviews of key topics. Use no-cost teaching aids and involve your community. And finally, always link learning with emotion and real life. If you found these strategies useful, don't just keep them to yourself. Share this with another teacher friend of yours who also likes to make a difference, and exchange notes with them on what worked and what didn't. And if you want more such practical, low-cost technique and other teacher-relevant content, remember to click the subscribe button. We can together transform every Indian classroom where lessons don't fade but stick for life.